Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video I thought I'll do a get ready with me style kind of video. Does that make sense? Anyways, in today's topic we're just going to be talking about like triggers, basically, like how to recognize the triggers. Well, I mean, I can't really say how to recognize the triggers, but I can say how I figured out what my triggers were. Basically, it was mostly through having a panic attack. So in today's video, just kind of slay my face, basically snatch my face, and I'll just talk about my experiences with my triggers and basically how you can try and the solutions basically to when you're realizing that you're being triggered about certain things. I will try, don't hold me to this, okay? I will try and list as much as possible what products I'm using. We'll see. And I hope you like the video, and make sure you like, comment and subscribe so that you don't miss my craziness, basically. And my socials are linked down below. I have my Instagram and my Snapchat down there. I don't have Twitter. I will never have Twitter. I once had it, but we're not going to do that. And yeah, I'm not really gonna prime today because obviously I'm not going anywhere. I'm just doing this for this video, so it's kind of useless. So basically what I wanted to talk about in this video is what my triggers were. And I mean, you never know how to actually recognize if you're being triggered or not until you get triggered. It's difficult to say that you know what your triggers are when you haven't been triggered. Does that make sense? You can't say something is a trigger until it has actually triggered you. Because if you're to say, because basically triggers are basically something negative, right? My experience, basically, I'm just gonna color correct. I'm just using LA Girl Pro Conceal in orange. In my experience, basically, the triggers that I've had were mostly, see, I have I have generalized anxiety, right? But in social situations, right, my anxiety gets so much worse, way worse. I get to somewhere and the first thing I'm trying to see is the exit. I get somewhere and the first thing I need to do is figure out where the exit is, because in my head I'm anything can pop off. Things can pop off because people don't really have control of their or knowledge of their limits with their alcohol and stuff. So in my head, anytime I go somewhere, I need to know the exit. I need to know how quick I can get to the exit if anything's to go off, because number one, I can't fight. Okay, I can't fight. I've never been involved in a fight. I never intend to get involved in any fight whatsoever. So when it comes to things like social situations, okay, let's say for example things like clubbing and stuff like that, I don't like going clubbing. I don't like it. I really don't like it. My cousin Lucy's always going on about, hi Lucy, yeah, I know you're watching this. Anyway, she's always going on about how she likes going out, right? But then I will go out, but it's not a thing that I have to. I can live without it. If I never have to set my foot in a club, I will be good. It will actually be amazing to never have to set my foot in a club ever. I'm okay with that. It's not the worst thing to ever happen. So my cousin basically, she likes going out, right? And it's an issue when it comes to, obviously, she likes going out. I don't obviously want to be a hermit and stuff and not be social with her and stuff. So when it comes to things like that, sometimes she can this sounds like I'm throwing Lucy under the bus. I'm not throwing her under the bus. It's just a case of that I realized this a few times, that she can kind of take it as if I'm just being a hermit, of which yes, most of the times I am being a hermit, but it's just a case of that I don't want to then, because if I'm to then go out, right, I'm not really going to be enjoying myself. One, why? Because I'm constantly going to be thinking about, okay, what's going to go wrong, what's going to go wrong, what's going to go wrong, what's going to go wrong. I can go out if we like plan to go out, like maybe in, like let's say, if we say a month in advance. Like if I know we're going to go out a month from now, I'm okay with it because I have time to prepare my brain for whatever rubbish that could come up, because obviously in my head I'm thinking that this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen, that's gonna happen. But if it's like a spontaneous thing and people just say let's go out, I mean, I've done it before, but it's not, this is gonna go everywhere, it's not the most ideal situation, I would say. I don't particularly enjoy going out. I really don't. I actually don't. I'm more of a homebody, right? Like I'm an introvert. Like I'm introvert, but I'm an extrovert when I need to be. People actually probably debate me about this if they to hear me say that I'm an introvert, but I am. I'm an introvert, but I have like extrovert tendencies when it's needed. But then in doing that, like it drains me out. Like it actually drains me out completely. Like I don't like going out. Like I don't like going out at all. I really don't. So social situations, like clubbing for example, big trigger for me. No, like yeah, no, because I even remember when I was like in high school, there were times when I would get, it wasn't even like clubbing, just in general, like social outings to me are just a trigger, because I don't know, in my head, right, I just think this sounds so bad, but in my head it's just a case of that I'm thinking, oh, something is gonna go wrong. I automatically, it sounds bad, right, but I automatically start thinking that something could go wrong. So in my head I need to prepare myself for the worst possible scenario, worst possible case. I have to prepare myself just in case something happens. Then, you know what, I'm gonna come back in a bit. I need to do my eyebrows. Like I can't, I'll come back in a bit. The first time I realized, right, that actually socializing is a trigger for me is when I was in high school. I used to get, right, invited to like obviously, like, you know, the typical thing when you're in high school, like your friends either like having a house party or they're going somewhere, or like simple things such as like going Thorpe Park and stuff like that. Yeah, like I was one of those friends basically where you invite them and they will always, you can always count on them that they're going to make some excuse at like the last minute and be like, I can't come. And all I can say from that is that listen, at the time I didn't realize, obviously, I'm just saying my eyes, sorry, I'm not, this is why I don't do thingy makeup videos. I basically like dye my eyebrows and then I used espresso for the top part and just the beginning part of my eyebrows, so whoop in there. I use fawn for like the inner part and then the rest of my my eyebrow, my eyelid as a base, and then I'm just setting it because it's like I mixed Laura Mercier and Sacha Buttercup. Yeah, so I basically used to be one of those friends where you could always count on them to say that they are actually not going to show up. It sounds really bad, but like I didn't like it. I didn't like socializing. I'm like, the thought of, right, okay, so going to school, right, Monday to Friday, and then on top of it, people are saying that they want to go out on the weekend, like, no, I'm using the Juvia's Place palette, the Zulu palette, basically. Yeah, like, no, just no. I would not, like, that was not my thing. Going, like, school was long enough already as it was, and then now on top of it you want to like add on doing something over the weekend. Like, that was my time for me to like to hibernate, basically. Like, the weekend was time for me to hibernate, refuel basically, like because like I always felt so drained from like, obviously at school you're having to be like, oh, there's so much rubbish that you're having to do with, like you're having to try and get through the lessons and stuff, and then there's the teachers you have to deal with, and you have to deal with the students, and then there's the whole stupid drama of, oh, who's popular, who's not popular, blah blah blah. Like yeah, so I was not one of those friends that you could basically count on to say that they're going to be up for going out for anything, of which I think that's partially what contributed to why I have like a very small group of friends. I only have like, I think 3 people from high school that I still talk to, and those are the only people I've had like as friends, like as constant friends since high school basically. Like yeah, like hi, like they know it themselves. It must, I'm sure it must have been quite annoying for them if I'm not saying those are the only people that were friends with me, but I'm saying they're the people I still talk to till this day, that I'm still friends with basically. And I'm sure it must have been quite annoying for the people that I was friends with in high school to then have to deal with the fact that obviously every single time someone's planned something, it's like, oh, is Edna even going to show up? I mean, even now, this is so bad, but like even now, I still have those moments where it's like when something is being planned and stuff, if you don't plan it way in advance, I'm not. If you try and tell me things last minute, I can't, like, it takes a lot for my brain to try and like process it, to be like, okay, so we need to go do this, because I need to plan in my head what exactly is going to happen from the minute I wake up basically. Like I have to plan it from the minute I wake up. I'm gonna use Anastasia Beverly Hills. Yeah, I mean, I've had obviously some situations where like I've been okay-ish in terms of something was last minute. Like, I mean, was it last week or 2 weeks ago when Mercy like called me on like, was it Friday? And then there was something she needed help with on the Sunday. But because I wasn't like required to like participate or do anything, it was mostly for like transport purposes, it was okay. And I think also what helps is like if I'm going somewhere where I know majority of the people are going to be there, so it doesn't make me as anxious basically. But if it's like somewhere new, I don't know anyone, and the only person I'm gonna know is the person I'm with, yeah, we're gonna have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Like I can't, I really can't. Like it's too much, it's too much. I will find some form of way to get out of it. I can't do it. It's not even on, because it won't even be fair for the person that's like invited me there. If I don't know anyone there, like no, I can't. I really can't do it. It's too much, and I start freaking out about it, and then I get automatically into the headspace where I start thinking, okay, like how am I actually meant to behave, because I don't know these people. I don't know if they're okay with my weirdness, number one, and are they gonna think that I'm really weird? Like, I know I shouldn't really care about what people are thinking, but like that's why I just don't socialize. I usually don't care what people think, but when I'm in a social environment, ooh. Especially when the people I don't know, it's like, ooh, Pamela. I really need to stop. The other thing as well that like, another like trigger for me, similar experiences, like, you know when you feel like you're having deja vu, right? Yeah, that like shit is trippy. It is so trippy to the point where it makes me not want to leave the house. Like, let's just not, like, let's not, like, really, like, let's just, nah. The time I realized that similar experiences are a trigger for me was when we went to one of our favorite Indian restaurants with my sister. Actually, we didn't even go there, actually. Now that I think of it, we didn't go there. we were home and we ordered the food for delivery. And because I had been to this place before, like earlier on in the year, this was, I'm talking about like 2-3 years ago, but actually not even 2 years, I think it was like 4 years ago, because I'd been there with a certain someone that I was with at the time. We got the food and everything. This is like our favorite like Indian restaurant basically, and we received our food and everything. Everything was fair and fine, and out of nowhere, long and behold, I feel like Edna is like the irrational one, right? And then Mutsa is like the more understanding, like civilized member of community basically. So long and behold, Edna decides to show up. Oh yeah, like yeah, that was an experience and a half, because I flipped off on my sister. Why did I flip off on her? I don't know. Like obviously at the time I didn't know, but like now I do know, because of like the experience I'd had with having gone to that restaurant before. It ended up in a negative situation, and then now I've like associated that place with that certain one experience basically, and now it's become a trigger. Like I actually can't go to that restaurant basically. Like I've had to find a different Indian restaurant that I like. I can't go to that restaurant anymore, which is really bad, but like that's just how my brain decides to work. I'm gonna do my eyeliner. Yeah, I'm going to do my eyeliner real quick. I'm going to do my eyeliner in my wing real quick, because I'll just do mascara. Yeah, I use like Benefit, they're real. And then for wing, I use the, what is this? Rimmel London Wonder Wing. Simple enough. Lashes I'm gonna use, and they're called Victoria Jane, and they are cruelty-free and vegan. So I just had to like pop my eyelashes on real quick. Another trigger for me is songs. Like certain songs that basically, if like I listen to like a particular song with someone and then listening to it again on my own, depending on what happened during that time we listened to that song, or what happened after, or whatever emotion that certain person provokes from me, like in me, from me, in me. Like Coldplay, their Ghost Stories album, can't listen to that still. Cannot listen to it, will not listen to it. I can listen to like 1 or 2 songs, and then after it's just like, yeah, let's not stop playing with your life. Like, stop wasting your time.
Stop wasting your time. Stop wasting your good time, because that is where you go wrong.
Like, so those are like my 3 main like triggers for me that I've realized to this day. Basically, I don't know if there's any more. Like, maybe I will like realize if there's any more, like they might like surface up as I get older and ish. I don't know. Things I tend to do to try and address this, if I'm realizing basically that I'm getting triggered, right? Number 1 thing for me is to actually, for me it's basically that I want to run. I want to run. I want to get as far away from that situation as possible, depending on what it is. For me, the thing that usually helps is to remove myself from the situation. Not run. By run, I mean usually where I cocoon myself and I don't want to even address what exactly is going on. So remove myself from the situation, right? Oh, sorry, I just used phone under my eye to conceal, and I'm going to use Maybelline Fit Me in 55 to just blend this out a bit more. And I put that on my upper lip area as well, because I must ask you a question. And I put it here. And to like remove myself from the situation, right? Because to me, that allows me time to then like go on to try and reflect on what exactly is going on, like why that happened, that triggered me, so that I can try and avoid it next time. I'm not saying it's always possible to avoid your triggers, but like it's better to know them, right, than to just be lashing out on people and not knowing what exactly is triggering. Because like it's not everyone else around you's responsibility to try and comfort you and stuff like that, because they won't know what's going on with you. Like if you're triggered, that's like a you problem. That's a you problem. Basically it's basically a you problem, and you have to try and address that in a way that allows you to know that you're not going to be lashing out at people. You can't then try and have people be responsible for having you be triggered. Like they won't know that what they're doing is going to trigger you. How are they meant to know? Like you might not even know at that moment that like you are being triggered, and it might just be like the first time that that's happening. Definitely a you problem, and you have to address that basically, and you have to try and figure out like how can you, like the main thing I would say, if like you're triggered, right, remove yourself from the situation, try and figure out what exactly it is that triggered you and why. Like it might not be in that moment, like there and there, that you figure it out what happened, but ideally try and figure it out in that moment. Because if you leave it out, you might just be like, oh like whatever, it happened, so it is what it is, and then you leave it out, and then it happens again, and then you don't realize, like it becomes a pattern. Sometimes what I tend to do when I actually am triggered, instead of trying to like run away from like the actual feeling of whatever it is that like whatever negative emotion that I'm feeling in that moment, instead of running away, right, I might remove myself from the situation, but I might just like allow myself to feel whatever do I speak English? I might just allow myself to feel whatever it actually is that my hormones want me to feel, because basically emotions have to do with hormone releases. So so I just have to allow myself to be like, oh, okay, so this is what's going on then, so let's feel all of it. I don't know how much of it I can handle. Let's feel whatever it is that's going on. Like let it all come out. Like have all of it come out. Like sometimes it might come out way too much at once, but then that's where you kind of have to know like where your limits are, because obviously within letting yourself feel, you might end up re-triggering yourself, and then that might lead on to you like becoming depressed. Does that make sense? Like it makes sense in my head. Like you have to have like a certain threshold of how much you're gonna let yourself feel if you're gonna be on your own. But like if you're around like other people that understand what you're going through, then like okay, fair enough. Yeah, you can then just be like, let me feel, okay? Let me feel all the feels, all the feels. But like you just let yourself feel whatever is going on in that moment. And for me, I find that it tends to help sometimes, because I have like I literally have times where I'm like, I haven't cried in a while, right? Like I don't make myself cry. I'm not saying I make myself cry, but like if I'm triggered, right, sometimes I just let myself be. Like instead of me trying to like resolve the situation as soon as, sometimes I literally just let myself be, and I'm like, okay, I'm triggered. So what? Let me just because I tend to bottle things up quite a bit. So in those moments, I'm just like, you know what? It is what it is. It's already starting to happen. So like let's just go with it, basically. Like let's just let it all happen. Like let all the feelings come out, whatever it is. Because it's usually, for me, it's a case of that something that I've been trying to avoid for time, basically. So in that moment, sorry, I'm just thinking, I set my whole face basically with like Sephora mattifying powder, and now I'm just brushing off any excess powder with like a very, like it's this like a clean brush, like no product on it. Yeah, and then I just like let myself feel however I'm feeling, and to an extent sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work, but that's where you kind of have to try and figure out like what works for you, because obviously not the same things are going to work for each person. So you kind of have to, it's like a learning curve when it comes to triggers, because I'm not saying that like right now I know what each and every single one of my triggers are. Like it might be a case that right now the things that I'm saying are triggers for me, a few years from now they might not be, because I might have figured out a way on how to address them, or like not even address them, like I might be able to identify them before it gets to the point where they actually like trigger me, like before they get to trigger me. Because these things that I just said, that I spoke about, are triggers. Who is to say that there still will be triggers for me? I might end up having even more things that will trigger me. I just used the Rimmel London eyeshadow stick. It says eyeshadow stick, I just use it as liner. I'm going to do my highlight, and I'm using the Artist Couture Jacket Eyeliner Le Peach. It's a bit tricky when it comes to triggers. Triggers are tricky, because one thing that might trigger you this month, you won't always have the same thing triggering you every month. If that's the case, then you need to try and realize why you're putting yourself in that environment every single time, and allow yourself to get triggered. Because I know there's some people that do actually allow themselves to get triggered, but then that goes with the case of that they don't know is a trigger or what actually a trigger is, and that's where you need to try and help yourself, basically. Like I said before in my like initial first video, my depression anxiety one, like no one's gonna help you. Like it sounds bad, but like when it comes to your mental health, right, unless if you go and seek the help, no one is actually going to help you. Most of the people that are around you, they barely understand it. Like I said, some people have or are living with depression right now and they don't even know. So when it comes to this, it's a case of that you need to try and work it out yourself and stop putting certain things, like when you're lashing out at people, it's because you're triggered. Instead of like this whole thing, people always like, oh, I'm triggered. Like I get it, it's like used as a slang. People always say that, oh, they're triggered when it comes to like maybe someone says something. I mean, it's similar concept, but I mean the triggers I'm talking about are in regards to your mental health, and they tend to have more, it can lead to you possibly doing something stupid to yourself, basically. So that's why I'm saying that you need to try and work on yourself and try and realize what exactly it is that like gets you worked up. And I'm just putting some ASMR for you. Oh god, that's too much. It's just Blistex Mediplus, because my lips so dry. But that's pretty much all I had to say for this video. I'm just going to finish up my face, and I will see you when I'm trying to pretend to be like a beauty guru, basically. I'm just going to do for my lips, basically. I'm using Anastasia Beverly Hills in Heathers liquid lipstick. Was it Heathers? Heathers? Alright, and then in the middle, I'm gonna use NYX NYX Monte Carlo Setting spray, I'm just using Jared Cosmetics Lay All Day in the scent Peach. That's pretty much all I have for you for this video, and until the next one, I will see you then. Thank you for watching.